is the role of religion in our ever-changing world? From the News Channel 5 Network, this is Issues of Faith.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Issues of Faith. I am Ben Hall. We are talking today about the church and the immigrant community. And we're very happy, actually honored to have with us Father Joseph Breen, the longtime pastor out at St. Edward's Catholic Church. Thank you, Father Breen, for being with us.
Pleasure to be with you.
So we're going to talk about all kinds of things, certainly what you've been doing since you retired, but you recently gave a speech out at Vanderbilt about the church and the immigrant community. What was the focus of the speech? Certainly at St. Edward's, you dealt with that community a lot. Kind of walk us through the focus of your speech there.
I gave a presentation on what you might say drives people to leave their own countries and go sometimes thousands of miles away. Dangerous situations. And it's usually either one of maybe four different things. Hunger, very poor economy, persecutions, war. They're the most three common reasons why people will go and put their lives in danger to seek something better. And that is very true with our relationship in the United States with immigrants, whether it was the wars that they had in Europe, the Holocaust, the number of Jews that became immigrants.
Well, there's always been this tension, right, between this new group of people coming in.
Always. Now, that's another thing that is common. What is common is when they get there, they were persecuted. They had a hard time. Many times the kids couldn't go to school. The father had a very hard time finding a job. You had signs that Jews need not respond, or Catholics, same way they had with blacks for a long time. So that's another thing common. Wherever they go, they have a hard time being received.
And the title of your speech was Welcoming the Stranger.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like we do a good job, churches do a good job of welcoming the immigrant community here in Nashville?
We're doing better. We got a lot to be proud of. We really do. I remember when I was a teenager, you were either black or white, and you were either Jewish or Christian. That was it. And now we have people from over 102 countries here in Davidson County. 102 countries. You have kids, students out at Glen Cliff High School that speak 27 different languages. You see what a challenge it is for the teachers. And I always think that we need to educate the people better, because they say all teachers must have the same, you might say, results, the grade scores. But if you're here and you're in a school where they speak that many languages, and many of their fathers have been deported, that unfortunate program that we had with the sheriff program,
right.
That unfortunately in the beginning it was told that no one would be deported except those that had criminal records. That was the reason, and that's what they said would be the focus. But no, we deported over 8,000 men, and many of them for traffic violations. And that left a wife, a mother, or 2 or 3 children. Most people are not aware of how painful, how difficult it was for a child to go to school and not knowing whether his father was going to be there that night, being taken up, deported, and maybe it would be a week or so before they know where that father was. And all that suffering. They discarded that program, you might know, maybe several months ago. Never should have been really operating. We've had good leadership from our governors, from our local mayors, from the chamber. for many nonprofits, many churches and synagogues. We've had great leadership welcoming the stranger. And it is in the Old Testament, I think Micah, that says pretty much welcome the stranger, for you were, in the beginning you were a stranger, talking about the Jewish people. So we're doing very well.
At the same time, do you still feel like Nashville is a segregated community? And even maybe more segregated than other cities, or do you feel like that's not the case?
I think we're one of the more progressive because of that leadership. We have the universities here that I think are very influential. We've had the Tennessean all these many years that have been, if you want to use the word liberal, progressive, being complimentary. That goes back to the integration of the 50s and 60s especially. So we've had good leadership and we work together. And why did the president come here?
Right, that's right.
That was a real compliment to our government, to our educators, and to the leadership, that he came here because Nashville was welcoming the stranger. And we have, as I say, people from over 102 countries. And for the most part, they're getting along well. The Muslims and the Jews have worked hard to get to know each other. Sitting down with the people who are different, that's how you come to like somebody. And then you come to like that person to the point, and then just say, you know, when I was so ignorant about who you were, I had such negative attitudes.
How much does that happen, the mixing of people getting together to know another religion? Because so often people go to their church and that's all they know, and they don't get to know another religion. Do you think that is done enough? There are enough opportunities for that, or people take advantage of those opportunities? You know, how much getting to know each other is really happening when it comes to different religions?
I'm really happy with the fact that many of the religions have become more open, more, let's say, those that are Christian, what I would say more Christ-like. I think two men, in addition to others, need to be praised. What Bob Fisher has done at Belmont University to welcome the immigrants, to have programs to help them get education. Used to be rather exclusive, and now it is very, very inclusive. I really am proud of what the president of David Lichtenstein has done. They used to be very exclusive, and now very inclusive. What they've done for veterans from the military to come back and get cheap tuition, get a good education. What they've done to welcome the stranger, the Hispanics. And I think we can be proud of that leadership, because that not only took intelligence to do what those two men had done, but a great deal of courage. And this is what I think the chamber, the universities, all kinds of groups of men and women who are dedicated to justice. You know, the Jewish people have been outstanding throughout their history, mainly because they were slaves in Egypt and so forth. The rabbis over the past 30 or 40 years have been the leaders in the 60s for integration, and they are also that way with the immigrants population.
You were the priest at St. Edward's for 31 years. You led that congregation for 31 years, and you recently retired. When you started, when you began your career there 31 years ago, or began your time there, what was the immigrant makeup of that church, and what was it when you ended?
Well, in the beginning, there were very few, but we were able to offer our facilities to the Hispanics, regardless of what their religion was. that was the start of, let's say, the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. It was the start of a number of those different groups because they could meet there freely in the sense it didn't cost them anything. That was the beginning of the great, you might say, influx of Hispanics. Over the years, they got greater and greater. We were very fortunate. You had a very outstanding minister up on Nolan Shore Road. Used to have one of the larger Baptist populations. Name was Reverend Paul Durham. He was a good minister. He was an entrepreneur. He was also engaged in politics, head of the Parking Commission. He was a man of many talents. He was a dear, dear friend. And he had Radnor Baptist Church. And he died, fell over after he preached. And after 4 years of trying to salvage everything, he had 2 sons. And they had a school, pre-K through 12. They did have a large population at church, but you had the change in demographics. And many of their people moved out, further out. More Hispanics moved in. So after 4 years, the son came down and said, did we want to buy the property, the whole thing? Well, after a while, we did. And we established the first Catholic Hispanic parish church. We don't know of any in the Southeast that are totally Hispanic Catholic parishes. They operate just like, let's say, St. Everett's, Christ the King, St. Henry's, and that's one of the very few that are throughout the Southeast. They determine whatever they like, mass schedules and weddings and so forth. That's something that we can be very, very proud of.
All right, we have to take a break, and I want to come back and ask about, was there friction as this happened, this transition within your church, and how did you deal with it? But we'll take a break. We'll be back with more Issues of Faith right after this.